Today, my friends, we are on Bedrock edition of the game, and I have orange hair. Must have something to do with all these new resin blocks they've added. Welcome back, my friends, to another update video, or should I say a drop video. They are really leaning into this new terminology. We're on Bedrock Preview edition today to see some of the new features for the winter drop, and don't worry, this will be coming to a Java snapshot soon, probably next week, I guess. Oh, and if you happen to notice the resin blocks in the image from the post on the website, don't worry, the resin blocks don't generate like this inside of the Pale Garden biome. Alright, I've got my skin back, we can get into this. Also, I've just learned how to clap. Alright, we have lots of changes to check out. Let's start with the creaking. So I've changed the time to night, and I've given myself night vision so we can clearly see what's going on here. And when I find my first creaking, I'm actually going to let it attack me. Okay, let's do this. Let's look the other way. Did you see that? 2 hearts of damage. Yeah, I am here with no armor just to show you that the amount of damage a creaking does has been changed from 1.5 to 2 hearts. The creaking can also move faster, but only once it's become aggravated. So if we attack it, and then try to carefully use F5, it will now move faster towards me once it's been provoked. The creaking's attack animation and walking animations have also changed too. So this new walking animation is kind of goofy. I think it needs a little bit of fine tuning, and when the creaking attacks, it kind of swings its head at me. Okay, look at this, like the whole head swings, and it's just a little too fast and a little too goofy looking for my liking. Also, recording here has just been a nightmare. Creepers keep coming out of every corner and blowing stuff up as I'm trying to show you this. This next change will happen very quickly. When I jump in the hole with the creaking, it's basically going to die after a few seconds, right? Right, buddy? There you go. This is because when you're in a 1x1 hole with the creaking, you're not going to be able to mine blocks or place them. And you can't kill the creaking because it's invulnerable. So after 5 seconds, the game is going to detect that and make the creaking vanish. There is also a change to how the creaking disappears when it's broken from the Creaking Heart. You can see it twitches and then vanishes. Now I've gone and placed a Skulk Catalyst here. And when a creaking dies, it will cause this to bloom. Let's check that out. Here we go. But as you saw, no Skulk was placed because the creaking doesn't drop any XP. Now, creaking that is summoned by a command or a spawn egg is no longer invulnerable to lava or fire. Let's go ahead and use the flint and steel, and it instantly disappears. It is also stated that naturally spawned creakings will avoid damaging blocks, as will ones spawned by command blocks or spawn eggs. Oh, I guess that's what you get for using lava in a biome full of trees. Before we continue with this video, I just want to remind all of you watching to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and that way you can catch future videos like this, keeping you up to date with the changes in Minecraft. Thanks for considering, and now let's crack on with the video. Next up, we're going to check out the new resin blocks, and this isn't the most exciting thing about the resin in my opinion, but let's go ahead and check out these funky new textures. This is your block of resin right here. Then we have resin bricks. These come with stairs and slabs and walls and a chiseled variant, which has a really cool texture. Do you know what that is a reference to? I believe it is the face of the creaking. And when it comes to slabs and stairs colors, we've already got quite a few shades of orange, but now we've got a very saturated one to join the group. The way we craft these resin brick blocks is by taking resin bricks and putting them in a 2x2 to make these. All the usual crafting recipes apply, and you can also put them into the stone cutter. But how do you make the resin bricks? Well, you need resin clumps. You put them in a furnace, they get turned into resin brick. And the resin clump in a 3x3 is how you make the block of resin. Now, I think the most exciting thing about these new resin blocks is actually the resin clump. We smelt this to make the resin bricks, but it can also be placed down on any other block. Look at this. I'm making an orange tree. Yeah, you can just add this orangey detail to any other block. This now looks like it's some type of new ore. It places much like glow lichen does, so you can kind of group it up into a single block like so. And I really think Mojang should look at adding more things like this into the game to cover a wide spectrum of different colors, because it just gives you like another level of detail when you can take an existing block and then add a new texture layer on top of it. Currently, those options are kind of limited, but just imagine a full spectrum of different textures and colors here, and you could really just combine blocks and these layers to make so many more textures. I really think this is a very cool addition. Now, you're probably wondering, how do we get this resin? Well, when the creaking is attacked, this stuff will actually generate on the blocks around the Creaking Heart. Problem is, this one was just a little too far away from its Creaking Heart. So if we attack it here, you can see the resin starting to spread. So I've come up here to switch from survival so we can just break this with our hand. And as you can see, it instantly breaks. And the other way to obtain it is by breaking the Creaking Heart block. There it goes. And yes, that gives you just one lump of resin. I am recording a quick amendment here, as I've got a creaking that has come from a heart that I have placed down manually. And although it created one piece of resin, it takes a moment for it to create another one. Seems like you have to wait for the particle effects to go away before it then creates some more and spreads. There is one other place that you can obtain the resin from, and that is inside of a chest in a woodland mansion. Let's try our luck here. Only got a golden apple with efficiency 1 on it. Well, that is rather peculiar. And last but not least, there is another fantastic use for this resin clump. It can be used as armor trim. Now, we don't get any new patterns or design, we just get a new color from this, because that's how the material part of this works. So I was thinking about showing you all of the different combinations and how long it would take to set that up here on Bedrock, because Bedrock's a little slower for me than using Java. But I realized you've seen all of this stuff before, right? The thing is, we've now got a new color. So yeah, now you can put some orange onto your armor trims. We also have a couple of changes to the Creaking Heart block. I'm using Silk Touch, by the way. Let's go ahead and break this, and we get some experience points. But this is a naturally generated one, so if I place one down that I've obtained using Silk Touch, I don't get more XP from it. And of course, if I break it with a regular axe, it will also drop experience points. We can also now craft these using blocks of resin and 2 pale oak logs, arranged like this to create a Creaking Heart. Next up, we're going to talk about the flower that you saw at the beginning of this video. This, my friends, is the Eyeblossom, and this one is currently in the open state. If I go ahead and change it to daytime, these flowers are going to start to close. Oh, and that one right there closed in front of us. When I middle click this, notice in my inventory, I have a closed Eyeblossom. Now, these changes are actually random, and apparently the proximity of these to one another can influence them changing their state. So if I'm to go ahead and place down a bunch of these that would be open at nighttime, they should start to close a little quicker. And just a few seconds later of me placing these down, I'm seeing them start to close quite frequently. We got a handful of them here that have already closed. I'm also wondering if it's the closed state that influences the open one to change to being closed. I mean, we'll probably learn more about this when it comes out in Java Edition. I'm also rather curious to know if these will update observers when they change state. And it would appear that the answer is yes, as you can see some of these bulbs are changing now that I've turned the time to night. And if you're wondering, these do not emit any light. They just kind of add a little color to the biome in the nighttime. And yes, this is the only biome that they naturally generate in. We can obtain them in survival simply by punching them, and depending on what state they're in is the one that they will drop as. You can grow these in the biome using bone meal like that. And Bedrock has this feature where you can spread the individual flower by bone mealing it, and then it creates the same type nearby. Let's place a closed one over here and then just spread that to show you what I'm talking about. That doesn't exist on Java, and I think this might be a good opportunity to bring it over to that edition too. These can also be used to create suspicious stew, and depending on what variant you put inside of it, you can get blindness or the nausea effect. So with the open variant, we get blindness. So with the closed one, you will get nausea instead. Now, it's said that these are also poisonous to bees. I am kind of wondering if they are attracted to this plant or they know that it will poison them. It might be these ones that they're poisoned by. Or maybe they need to actually try and pollinate with this plant. Oh, actually, it's the difficulty of the game. I had it on peaceful. Right. That's an interesting thing. I always thought difficulty changes would affect the player only, but yeah, it's affected bees. They are getting poisoned now. Although noticeably not actually... Oh, there you go. That one started taking damage. Seems like they take damage when they move away from the flowers. Yep, that guy just moved away and then started to take damage despite having the particle effects. The very last thing to mention is that if you put these inside the end or the nether dimension, they don't change state because there's no daylight cycle in those dimensions. And with that, my friends, we've covered the changes for the new winter drop inside of Bedrock Preview Edition. And we'll get to look at it all again when it comes to Java Edition, hopefully next week. But that's it from me at this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.